All right, let's bring in Dave Jacobson now, a Democratic strategist, and John Thomas, a Republican consultant.
Welcome to you both. Thanks for staying up late for us, joining us from the West Coast in our LA bureau. John, I want to start with you on that last point that Tal was making about the Republicans still being fractured at this point. We could expect Tuesday's results, but if we look at the exit polling in Nebraska, for example, really looking into how Republicans felt as they headed to the polls, we see that essentially 38%, if we add together the Republicans who are concerned and scared, 38% of them feel that way if Trump will be elected as president. What does that say about the state of the electorate right now among Republicans and his shot at winning in November?
Well, there was one key statistic that exit poll didn't ask, and that's the terrified question. If Hillary Clinton is elected, are you terrified? And I think 100% of Republican of the electorate would agree that Hillary Clinton would be a terrifying president. She is the uniter that will bring the party together. But the fact is, tonight was a big night for Donald Trump. And more important, so I think the party's going to coalesce, and the party
but John,
leadership
you are dodging the question
choice.
there. These are people who said even if Donald Trump is elected president, these are Republicans, they're concerned. What does that mean?
You know, they're concerned about a lot of things. They're concerned about the state of world affairs, the economy. I think Donald Trump, as we move through this process, is going to win those voters over. We're already starting to see a little bit more moderate Donald Trump in the process, especially on some of his positions. I think they're going to come along. I really do. But Donald Trump does, you're right. Donald Trump has some ground to make up, but it's a long road to November, and I think he can get it done.
So, Dave, what do you make of those numbers?
Look, I think it's emblematic of the identity crisis that has continued to sort of persist in the Republican Party, right? You see the rift between the GOP elite with the Paul Ryans and the Mitt Romneys and the Bushes of the world and the voters who have propelled Donald Trump to become the presumptive nominee. I think this is emblematic of sort of the broader narrative that we're seeing with this sort of fractured Republican Party. And I think the reality is Donald Trump is not going to be a formidable general election candidate until he can sort of consolidate the Republican base. And one of the ways that he sort of does that is he deals with this challenge head on.
All right, so gentlemen, let's listen for a moment to some of what Bernie Sanders had to say after his big win in West Virginia, and then, of course, we'll get your reaction. Let's listen.
Mr. Trump will not become president because the American people understand that our strength is in our diversity, that we are a great nation because we are black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American.
All right, Dave, to you first. Is this a sign, perhaps, of a change of tone in Sanders' message from attacking Clinton to focusing more on Trump? And could it signal the role he may play once Clinton is inevitably nominated, given he knows by now that he has no mathematical chance of winning?
Right. Rosemary, I think he's testing out the waters for VP or some cabinet position, or at least some surrogate at a certain level for the general election. He wants to be part of the campaign because his chief objective is to make sure that Donald Trump does not become the next president, right? I think you're going to see this shift increasingly as we get closer and closer to conventions. And I think, look, the reality is, if he doesn't want Trump to be president, he's got two choices. One, he can continue to attack Hillary Clinton. That's going to increase the likelihood that Donald Trump becomes the next president. Or he can pivot and start attacking Donald Trump and help propel whoever the next Democrat is to the White House after the November election.
And John, of course, let's bring you in on this, because we're seeing here possibly eventually Bernie Sanders will be a uniting force on the Democratic side. Where does that leave the Republicans?
Well, I don't think he'll necessarily be a uniting force. I think the fact is 25% of Bernie Sanders supporters say that they will never support Hillary Clinton as their nominee. The fact that a socialist beat Hillary Clinton on issues of the economy tonight, about issues of coal, I mean, it's shocking. I think we need to remember this, that the top issue going into this election is going to be the economy, and we saw tonight that Hillary Clinton's Achilles heel was exposed. And that's, although Donald Trump certainly has negatives, and almost every other issue, Hillary beats Donald Trump. Donald Trump's created jobs. Hillary's never created a single job.
And what's interesting, John, is you're echoing the sentiment from Reince Priebus tonight, the chairman of the Republican National Committee. He sent out a tweet, almost Donald Trump style, a couple hours ago. We'll bring it up for our viewers. Quote, "It is nothing short of embarrassing that Hillary Clinton has now been defeated 20 times by a 74-year-old socialist from Vermont." Dave, what do you make of that remark? He's noting Sanders' age, he's calling him a socialist, and pointing to one of Clinton's weaknesses.
Look, this presidential campaign is anything but conventional. I say there's an identity crisis on the Republican side. We have our own identity crisis, right? You've got this rift between the Bernie Sanders supporters, sort of the leftist left wing of the party that's been inspiring young people, working class voters, white voters, even independents into his column. And simultaneous to that, you've got the traditional sort of Obama coalition of voters, which is women, African Americans, Latinos, Asians, minority voters. And I think, look, the reality is our campaign and our party hasn't sort of seen the same kind of character attacks that we've seen in the Republican Party. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for us, to consolidate and bring the party together and to sort of unify at our convention, as opposed to the Republican Party, where you've seen this unprecedented rift, where you've got the highest ranking Republican elected leader in the country not yet ready to come behind the presumptive nominee, or you've got the Mitt Romneys or the George Bushes. Even Marco Rubio tonight, earlier on CNN, indicated that he's willing to support the nominee after it takes place, but he's not willing to come out front and endorse Donald Trump today.
And John, just because we talk about unity here, you two have spent so much time together on our air talking about these issues. Have you two become closer at all?
We're besties.
We are BFFs, yeah.
Cordial.
Actually, we're more frenemies, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Very good.
We'll settle for that at this
Yes,
stage.
Dave Jacobson and John Thomas, always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Likewise, thank you.